Hey, this is Pepin from We Need to Talk, and on this episode, we cover part two of personal finance. Now, if you didn't see the first one, go check it out. But if not, maybe you'll still understand it, get something out of it. I mean, it's kind of by itself, but yeah. Well, let's play the intro. We're talking a little bit about savings versus spending for the future. And I think the big thing about savings, and this is where my mind got changed a while back, whereas people have this savings, like they just have money, and it's called savings. And I don't think that's the right approach to do it, because savings for what? Oh, for the future. Okay, but for what? Like, what is that money doing exactly? And the way I see it now is that you're always saving for something. So you might have savings for emergencies. So maybe you have like $1,000 in there, and that's in case, like, say, your car breaks down. You can put that money towards that. You might have long-term savings in case you go unemployed for 6 months. You might have savings for your car insurance. So if you do like 6-month premiums, or maybe for your registration, or you might have car savings, or you might have savings for when you get pulled over and you get a ticket. Cover that, because that will happen eventually if you speed. If you're one of those people. So you can have savings for anything. Maybe you're going on vacation. Maybe you want to buy some new shoes.
Maybe you need to buy a nice rug to bury a body in.
Exactly. For the court costs, or for the lawyer costs.
For the intimidation costs.
Yeah.
For the witnesses.
There we go. Mm-hmm. So there's all these different things that you should be saving for, or that all these different categories you should be saving for. And you have to kind of like think about them a little bit. And instead of just throwing money into like a bin and saying, yeah, I'm saving, like have like intention behind it, because then you will have more of a general idea of how your finances are and what you're saving for. And it also gives you goals, because some people, it works for a lot of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you make a lot of money and your costs are just generally low because you keep them low because you don't need much, then you will be saved for whatever you need. So some people just have like $100,000 just sitting in their savings account, and it's just because every week they put away like $500 or whatever, and that's just how they do it, and they've saved up money over time. Anything happens, they have it covered. But people who are on tighter budgets, being aware of what you're saving for makes it easier to prepare for the future. So it's like car registration. I think it's a big one. I worked at a coffee shop, and a lot of people didn't save for their car registration, and the time came up and they wouldn't have the money, and they'd have to spend like that week's paycheck, the whole paycheck, and they're like, how am I going to pay for rent now? How am I going to pay for this? I can't do anything. I can't buy me cigarettes. I can't do this. Whereas if they put, say, $5 a week away for like the year, they would have been able to pay for their car registration and not have that huge like 2-week stressful period where they were just wanted to kill themselves. So I think that's where savings really help out, and just being aware of not just what your costs are right now, but what your costs will be in the future. Like,
it sounds boring. It sounds like a lot of planning and just being aware.
Yeah. Well, it's.
But I want to frivolously throw money around.
I mean, that's fun as well, and then you can save for that, right? So you can put a category called, throw money frivolously around, and put money towards that. And you can still experience that, but you're planning for it.
So you're saying in order to frivolously throw money around, I have to be responsible about it?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to be, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're not responsible about it, then
the underlying thing here is I want to be successful in and not struggle financially. So I think with that being the groundwork of anybody who's talking about personal finance, then we can make statements like that.
Yes.
Obviously, this is life. You can do anything, so I don't have to do anything. I could take my paycheck every week and flush it down the toilet. Like, I could do that, but I don't think that's where I don't think we should have to say that every time we're talking about something is, well, technically, yes, you can do that. I think we should start with a baseline of we want to be financially successful and not struggle. And then we can make statements like, well, if I want to frivolously throw money around, I can. I just need to plan for it.
Yeah.
I need to set aside X amount of dollars that I can realistically just throw around.
Yeah. And okay, so with that kind of there, yeah, most certainly. Like, I can give an example for myself. A little while back, we went to the strip club together, and we had some other people, and I saved up for a couple months there, and I had like $100 or $200 in $1 bills that I saved up. I mean, I got them like I didn't save up $100 bills exactly, but you know what I'm saying. But my plan was just to throw $1 bills around and kind of just give strippers money and stuff, and that's what I did. And I planned for that. I was responsible. It wasn't coming out of my rent payment. It wasn't coming out of my food money. It's just money I had saved, planned for that. And as a result, I was able to just go, hey, yeah, there's like $5 right there.
Man, big spender.
I mean, she wasn't that hot.
Well, that's fair. So I need to be responsible about being irresponsible.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be irresponsible, then set the money aside and say, this is my irresponsible money.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people do, which I think is a great tactic, is they will have money they budget to different things. So there's so many different ways of doing budgeting, but they'll put certain money. So they have like, say, 2 checking accounts. And in one checking account, they put how much money they need for all their bills for that month or for whatever. And then they have another checking account where that's their spending money. So everything but the bills and maybe a little bit more is going into that's spending money. And that spending money, they can spend however they want. It doesn't matter, but that's the spending money because they have their bills accounted for. Mm-hmm. And they see something they like, oh, I'm going to buy this, even if it's like, say, $500. If they have $500 and there's checking account there, they're going to spend it. And there's nothing wrong with that because they're accounting for everything. They're being aware. And that's how they're just living, which is fine. But just having like money in your checking account and then just like just spending it without being aware of your future costs, that to me is, it's going to get you into trouble. It might not, but it will eventually.
What if you do all of the math in your head so you don't, like, it's a lot of work to create all these different accounts and do all this math and be like, well, I got to put this much in this account and this much in that. That's way too much work. What if I just keep track of it all in my head? And I'm like, well, I know I need this much in a month total. So I know based on my income, I'll have this much left over. So this is how much I can spend, give or take. And then I spend around that much.
So if it works for you, that is a method that works. But the issue with that method for many people, and I'm not saying everyone, because certain people have that ability and they're very accurate with it. Like some people, they can go on diets and just guesstimate how much calories they're eating, mm-hmm. and they will lose weight because they have that sense. Whereas other people, most people who do that, they will still like overeat like crazy. Mm-hmm. They think they're eating way less than they actually are. In the same kind of way, a lot of people who do math in the head like that, they will end up way overspending what they think, and they'll end up short. Mm. Now, other people, they can do that kind of math, but it's like when you don't keep track of what you're spending, you tend to forget about purchases you made. I have this problem myself with cash. So like I was talking about earlier, I don't do well with cash. I do very well with credit cards and debit cards. I don't use debit cards though, but I do very well with credit cards because I can see all the purchases I made and keep track of them. But if I put money in my wallet, like for some reason my brain thinks, oh, I don't need to keep track of this as much. And it's like if I have $100 in there, at the end of the week when I do my budgeting, it's like, where's 80 of that dollars go? Like I had money here. Now where is it? What did I spend it on? I'm not even sure because my brain doesn't keep track of it as much.
So is there a perception versus reality issue there for some people? Of I perceive that it's going to cost, that all of these things together cost this much. Like I'm spending less, but actually they're spending more than they had intended to.
Yeah, most certainly. And people will always overestimate their ability in general than underestimate it.
So maybe test it out, see if it'll work for me that way, and if it does, great. And if it doesn't, then maybe plan differently.
Yeah, well, honestly, like I'd say even if you have it in your head, write something down real quick and just have like an idea of your monthly expenses and take a few yearly expenses with that and put it in there too. So like one method I came up with, I don't use it myself, but it's a good method for certain people, is let's say you have one checking account. What you want to do is you want to calculate your minimum monthly expenses or however much you want in there. So let's say your minimum monthly expenses. Let's say you want to just have enough for the month. You don't care about next month as much. You just want to be prepared for this month. So you want to calculate how much you expend per month on average, for your main necessary expenses. And you want to keep at least that amount of money in there at all times. And any above it, you can be over, or you can spend. So let's say that you, on a monthly basis, spend $2,000. So in your checking account, you can't go below $2,000 because then you're going to your bill fund. But if you have above $2,000, you're fine.
But how do I estimate for things that aren't like rent is always the same and stuff like that? But what about for, say, a light bill, which during the winter is going to be much higher, or say gasoline or food? Like in the Halloween time, I got to buy all the pumpkin spice. Like, how do I account for the fluctuations in variable cost?
You can have a range. I mean, it's going to depend on each person, and you can just add. You say I need more money for the summer, or sorry, I need more money for the winter because I have heating costs. I have to pay for oil, and so where it would be $2,000 usually, you find out the oil bill is like $100 more. So had an extra $100, so $2,100 is now your goal. Or if you want to get more complicated, say, if you have this history, like to kind of look at, you could say, I know I spend about this much on heating in the winter, so during the summer, I'm going to take that heating cost and divide it on a monthly basis. So this is my yearly heating costs. You divide it by 12, and now I know I need to put this. So you're putting away for the summer, preparing for the winter. So let's say your heating cost is like, say, $1,200 per year. And let's say it's $400 a month or something during those 3 months during the winter. Or, I'm trying to say, it's an amount.
That sounds like a lot of work. Is this something like you have to always be constantly doing?
No, it's more like you do it once and then it's done.
Oh, so I just have to like set it up, and then it just kind of, it does itself from there, as long as I just follow whatever I said I would do at that point.
Yeah, you could just spend like an hour just planning and just writing down all the expenses you have and just kind of looking at how much it costs. And then you make the plan, and then you see how well that plan's working out over time. So let's say that you have the plan, you're going according to it, but then you find that all of a sudden you're $500 under what you would anticipate. So let's say your goal is $2,000 in your checking account, and now you have $1,500 at some point, and you're like, how did that happen? Then you find out what bill it is, and then you just stop spending a little bit of money, or you raise your goal by that amount. So maybe you try to keep $2,500 because your oil cost is high that month.
Can I pay one of the hookers to do this for me?
Yep. If they double as accountants, yes.
Okay, my hooker accountant associates. Well, what if she's the bottom bitch? Is that her job, right?
Is it? I think so, yeah, right?
Yeah, okay. So that's what we'll say, is that it's her job to manage all of this. So an option is to hire somebody to do this for you.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of like celebrities do, and people who have like lots of money. They will literally hire like an accountant to do all their bills. So the accountant will pay everything for them. And the accountant takes a slice of that pie, and then they'll give you essentially a paycheck to spend. So you don't worry about your bills or anything, but they'll give you like, say, $1,000 if you're a high earner, probably like $1,000 a week, and you can spend that on whatever the fuck you want. But they take care of all that stuff for you, and they're trying to save for the long term and all kind of stuff. And that's the way high income earners, especially celebrities, can avoid becoming that guy. What's his name? The one that's in all the movies, like bees. The bees.
So how does I have no idea what you're talking about? Are you talking about Jerry Seinfeld?
No. He's like the popular one that no one likes. He was in that Christian movie. I mean, people like him. Nicolas Cage.
Okay. Oh yeah. Was that Wicker Man you were talking about?
Yeah, Wicker Man. Okay. Yeah. Because he
never seen it.
It's like there's just tore up some place, and it's like that used to be Nicolas Cage's island right there. He's like extreme debt right now, like so much debt because he just spent all his money.
So, it sounds like personal financing is kind of boring.
It is kind of boring, but it makes things less stressful. And so, the way you want to think about it, I think, is you want to save yourself stress in the future by doing a little bit of planning in the present. It's more about planning than anything, because people have gone, like I see this a lot, especially when I was working at the coffee shop, where there's a lot more like low-income earners who are having a hard time making their way in the world, like they'll have periods where they're all right, but then every month or two they have these periods where they are just struggling for money and they don't know what they're supposed to do. Like they have these bills they can't pay, and they go through like the most stressful week or two of their life, and it's really hard to watch. And then some people, it happens on like say a 6 month basis. Every 6 months they're like, I don't have any money, how am I going to do this? And some people it's a yearly basis, some people it's like 1 or 2 years. So the idea is not so much that it's fun. I mean, for me it's fun because that's how my brain is, but I think for most people it's just a way to save yourself future stress and from being homeless.
Fair. So how does giving money away factor into this? Charity. I know there's tenets about you're supposed to save a third, give away a third, and spend a third or something.
And something like that. I mean, charity is also up to your individual preference. There's good arguments to give money away as charity, and one of the reasons, I mean, this is like a woo-woo kind of reason a little bit, but I think it's accurate.
A what kind of reason?
Woo-woo.
What's that mean?
Like, it's kind of like sappy, or kind of like, have you ever heard of The Secret?
Wait, is this a real thing, or did you just make this up?
No, this is the real thing. Like it's kind of like mystic kind of thing. Like if you put good out into the world, it's like karma. It comes back to you.
Okay.
Kind of like one of those things. But they say that if you give money away, like that money will come back to you in greater amount. Mm-hmm. And some people try to say it's like a metaphysical thing. Like it's just the law of nature. Like nature will return to you what you give away in greater abundance. But I think there's more of a mentality thing there. Like if you are giving money away and to charity or just to help people out, then a lot of times that will come back to you only because now how you're approaching the world is a bit different. Like you're not living from like a mindset of scarcity, but you're living more from a mindset of abundance, and you might be more willing to approach things in a more aggressive or a more apt, strategic or mindful way.
Mm-hmm. So the way that I personally handle, actually, I want to know you first. How do you handle charity, giving money away?
I don't give money away too much. I do from time to time, but it's like at this point in my life, I'm not making enough to give money away. Some people would say, well, that means, yeah, you really have to give money away because you want to make more money. Like this is cool. That's where I'm a little bit unclear, but right now, I don't think I have the ability to give money away. If I had a lot more money, I'd probably donate some money. But for me, I complicate it myself with questions about opportunity costs and whether the money will actually do good.
So I wouldn't give, I myself don't give to like charity or, people begging on the side of the road, stuff like that. The way that I give money away is to people who are actively working and providing me a service. And I just pay them, I overpay for said service, especially if it's good service. So, for example, go to a restaurant. Most people tip between 10 and 15%. I usually tip 20+% easy every single time because that person is working hard and they're working at a job. And I think that if they're providing me a direct service, I should be affording to them a little bit extra. And then I think it's like giving money away, but it's not. It's because I don't have to give anything. Technically, I don't have to tip at all. But I think that it provides to the world and to the service industry, which is very, very underpaid. Same with like hotels or anything where I can tip money, I can give extra money. I'm going to try and do a little bit extra. And that's my method of giving money away.
So I can definitely say I'm on the same page as that because now that you say that, that's what I do as well. Like when I go to any restaurant or getting kind of service, like a haircut or anything, like I tip very well, like usually 25 to 35%. Mm-hmm. Unless they suck. Like sometimes they just suck. Like I've got them waiters who they don't catch on to anything. Like it's like you finish your drink and you try to like make signals to them to like refill it and they don't. And then this kind of, I don't know. But if the service is good, I usually tip pretty well. And if the service is great, I tip even better. I also donate money to, or I don't know what it is exactly, but there's like a lot of apps out there which are free. And sometimes the apps are really good. And if the apps are really good and it's providing a great service to me, although it's free, I'll give them money. And for me, that's just because I want to encourage that kind of thing out there. I donated money to Wiki a while ago, and I felt good about that. But then I stopped donating money to them because they sent too many emails after that about begging for more money. Like, which I thought was a little strange. Like, okay, I gave you the first time, and now you're just using my past donation, just saying we need money to survive. The internet needs to be free. It's like, guys, just stop being so desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tip based on service. I would tip the same regardless of service. My repeat, like going back to that same establishment would be decided by the service. So if a person had gave me shitty service, I would still tip them the same, but I would not return. And that would be the biggest difference for me, like especially like with haircuts. Like with restaurants, you know, you get a different server all the time, but like with haircuts, especially for me, I don't even go to a barber anymore because I just want my haircut all the same length. So like I can have my brother do that with a hair clipper versus paying $20 and then tipping somebody on top of that. I would do that in the past, and then I'd be like, they didn't even like do a good job. They didn't even give a shit because it's such an easy thing. So why even bother going to a place like that? I feel like for me at least, a barber is not something that is worth spending money on because I choose to have a very simple hairstyle. But a restaurant or delivery service of some sort, those are something that I can't do on my own. As far as like I can't go to a restaurant and go and wait my own table.
Makes sense.
Unless I go to a buffet.
You know, I got a haircut once, and this was like kind of an Asian lady, and she didn't seem to speak very good English, which is fine. But she's like, "Oh, so you want a haircut?" I'm like, "Yep." And she's like, "Okay, sit down." And then she just starts cutting my hair.
That's the dream, Nathan. Give me her name because I now found my barber.
And she didn't, she's like, at the end, she's like, "Oh, is that good?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's good." She's very fast, very efficient. She didn't speak at all to me, really. And she's like, "Oh, so what's your name?" And I'm like, "Nathan." "Oh, what do you do?" And this is like at the very end of the haircut. I'm like, now you're talking to me.
Well, then you were cute. She didn't like your hair before, but she'll only talk to people with good hair.
That must be what it is. But she did a good haircut, so that's where it tipped her pretty well. But it was strange.
In my mind, that's how giving works best for me, as far as giving money away, because it's not really, in my mind, giving money away. It's having people earn that money. People who are helping themselves, they're out there working. And I think that they deserve a little bit extra for that.
I think another thing in terms of giving is giving people time as well. Giving them like your time and parts of you. It's like I've helped people out with rides a lot before. So if someone needs a ride to work or to some place, I help them out with that. Someone needs help with this, they need that. I've loaned people money before, and I've done a lot of things to help people out in that kind of way, and they're not necessarily money related. I mean, maybe they effectively are because it's about getting money from the workplace for them, but it's about me giving them, say, that hour of my day, and giving that ride to work, the ride back, and helping them move something. Like what big issue with something is like moving is getting this thing from place A to place B, and it's a big issue, and helping someone move is giving some charity in that way. So I think it extends beyond money as well, and I think most things extend beyond money. I think money is a way to encapsulate like the issues like into a very simple manner. I think that's what money does to a large extent, but I think part of budgeting and part of personal finance is looking past the money and seeing what it's actually doing for you. What the money is actually. So for me, the money is my future expenses. my current expenses, my current happiness, and it's a metaphor or a encapsulation of that thing. It's a conceptual tool to help you understand the present, future, and the past.
Absolutely. I think money is a representation of time, and how much is your time worth. I think you mentioned opportunity cost earlier, and I think that's a really good point, that every minute that you're doing something, you're either being paid for it or not, but you could be being paid for it. You could be doing something for somebody that they would want to give you money for. So to me, is this thing that I'm doing worth the amount of money that I could be making doing a different thing? Why or why not? And for me, a lot of personal finance comes down to stuff like that, is budgeting my time in a way that, is this something that nobody else can do? Or is it quicker for me to do it than it would be for me to pay somebody to do it? And, you had mentioned a cleaning service. To me, a cleaning service would become worth it when the amount of money that I make surpasses the amount of money per hour, surpasses the amount of money I would have to pay per hour for somebody to do that same task. Because then it's worth more for me to be working because I'm making a surplus than to be doing that cleaning.
Yeah, agreed. One thing about money and being paid for things is, I think there's an element where people will assume their own values onto what people do for money. And I think definitely there are people in rough spots and do things they normally wouldn't do for money. But I also think that we can't necessarily judge people for what they do for money. So, like, for cleaning example, some people find cleaning to be very degrading. Like, it's a very lowly, menial task for them. And, like, if they were a cleaner, they would see themselves as very, say, impoverished or, belittled. But there's plenty of people who love cleaning out there, and they do that for money. And there's no reason to degrade someone who enjoys doing what their job is. Other people, they degrade car mechanics. Just call them, like, greasy slime balls and stuff like that. Or they will never work on their car because they can put themselves beneath that. And it's not so much that people are degraded for what they do for money. Prostitution is another example with hookers. But it's that person found something that they're good at and can make money off of, and it's great that they found that. Maybe not all the time, because there's issues, like, say, with prostitutes where they have extreme emotional issues and drug dependency issues, which they're trying to support through their lifestyle. But I don't think it's always right to degrade people for what they do for money and to look down on anybody for what they do. That's a big issue with the fast food industry, too. People see fast food workers and they think, man, I would never do that. That's just terrible. Well, some people enjoy the job. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people, they get value from the job. I mean, let's not, like, look down on people because they do something you don't want to do yourself.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, and I think this might end up going into a completely different episode, because I have thoughts on that for sure. That if you have the capacity to do so there are certain tasks that are menial. Let's say typing data into a spreadsheet. Like, not to say that it's beneath anybody, but that it takes low levels of concentration and brain power to just, like, type in a number, enter, number, enter, number, enter, over and over and over and over and over all day long. I think that is a very low level task as far as your mental capacity goes, needing to actually focus on a thing or having a skill set to do said thing, versus being a mechanic where you have to, like, know shit. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to learn new things a lot of times about, like, well, I've never worked on this type of car. This is from a different country. Like, let's figure out how all this works. And I think that there's ways to shortchange yourself in what you choose to do for work if you have the capacity to handle, like, doing something much higher level than where you're at. And I think that's where a lot of people come up with, well, I wouldn't put myself down to doing fast food. Not that it's like a useless thing or that it's an awful thing, but that they have the mental capacity to handle a lot more things all at once.
I mean, I wouldn't say that people are wrong in their assertion of those things. So in regard to themselves, but to project that onto other people is kind of assuming that your own values are what that other person's values are. Mm-hmm. Like that person is putting themselves beneath themselves for doing something which is menial. Mm-hmm. where maybe they're not. Maybe they have a goal which is separate than what your goal is. Or maybe they're working towards that goal of doing something more fulfilling for themselves, or maybe don't care about that. Like, say, I think a good example is when I was working in the coffee shop, there was a lot of mothers there, and the mothers were working part-time, and their whole thing was being with their family. So they just needed a little extra money because their husband made most of the money, but they just needed a little extra money to spend and, for the kids and stuff. And the whole goal of their work there is just to make some money, doing something easy, something not too hard. They have a set schedule, and they get out of there, and they can spend the day with their kids. That's their goal. And that is completely fine because they have a goal and doing what they need to achieve that goal. Some people, they want to just work so that they can just live and smoke some weed. That's their goal. Some people have greater goals where they want to have some sort of fulfillment with their work. Like doing something menial isn't good for them because they really strongly identify with what they do. Whereas other people, they don't care what they do. They just want to make some basic money, survive, and then go home, watch Netflix. Like, they don't aspire to anything higher of that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people who have that personality, they assume everyone is like them. Like this person's not living up to their expectations or their aspirations. This person had dreams, and they killed those dreams. Not everyone has dreams. Some people, their dream is just to, hang out, chill, just live, enjoy the moment. Maybe they get a shitty job, or I'd consider it a shitty job because it's not fulfilling to me, but maybe they do that because they just want to live. It's not a big issue. Or maybe they push themselves through college or some sort of thing, and this is what the best bang for their buck is. Maybe it sucks for them, but they're doing it because their goal is to fund their college fully. And this fits their schedule because, not everything can fit between a hectic schedule when you're going to college. So I think the issue is people project their own values into other people, assuming that what their priorities and what their goals are the same as theirs.
And I guess for some people, it could be fulfilling to have jobs that other people wouldn't find fulfilling. Like there are some people who would find managing 100 people in a power plant to be a super fulfilling job, and other people who are like, that would not be at all. I would never want to do that. And then some people are like, I want to run a cash register at a grocery store. Like that would be really fun to me, and meeting people and all of that. And that could be fulfilling in the same way that somebody else managing people could be fulfilling. That I guess there are different types of people who can find different types of work fulfilling, and that, like you said earlier, it doesn't always come down to money.
Yeah. I mean, not everything comes down to money, and that's the one thing about personal finance that people really need to encapsulate and understand. The issue with a lot of personal finance forums is they talk about people ask questions like, what should I do? And the answers people will give to any dilemma is what will make that person the most amount of money. And that's not always the answer. The answer is dependent upon your own values and what you want. What are your goals? If your goal is to spend lots of time with your family and help raise them, then maybe a part-time job where you're not making too much money, but enough to, support the extremities of the family. Maybe that's what you do, because that's what gives you the most amount of value in your life. I mean, I think spending time with your children, for, say, most people, is more valuable than working yourself to death. I mean, many people make that choice, and that's not a wrong choice to make. It all depends what you want. And you have to know what you want in order to go after it.
So I know what, just for example, we do this podcast, and we don't make money on this podcast. I actually spend money every single month on this podcast. So there's definitely something there where could this be a money-making venture in the future at some point? Maybe. But is that the goal? No. So I think that, or at least for me, no. So I think that comes back to what you've pretty much said the entire time we're talking about personal finance, and that's what's your goal, and that's what you should be aiming for. You want savings? Well, what's your goal with the savings? Let's get to that. You want to live a certain lifestyle? What's your goal with that lifestyle? Your job, everything. It all comes back to what's your goal. And if it's not hookers and blow, you're doing it wrong.
Very, very true.
Why'd I even go to college if I'm not going to get hookers and blow?
I think your idea was to go to college, increase your income by a large margin, and then you'd gain access to greater amounts of hookers and blow, or higher quality hookers and blow.
Well, the quality of the hooker, okay, which is more important in personal finance? And this will be the closing argument here. The quality of the hookers or the quality of the blow?
Well, so this is where it gets confusing because there's an interaction there. It's like the quality of the blow, like if it's really fine quality blow, it will increase the quality of the hooker substantially. Like if you have, or let's put it this way. So let's say that you have we call it a dime ball.
Okay, yeah.
A dime ball?
No.
Let's say you have a dime ball of blow.
So you're thinking either a dime bag or an 8-ball.
Let's say you have an 8-ball of blow.
Okay.
And, it's low quality blow. So that low quality blow might only increase the hookers by, say, 10%. Right? But if you have some super pure, fine stuff, it will increase the hookers by 65%.
Okay.
So
69%, got it.
69%. And that quality increase is very important because it can make a big difference. But you have to ask yourself how expensive the hooker is and how much of that quality increase will matter ultimately. Because I think I rate hookers on a 1 to 10 scale. A 5 being average and a 1 being below average.
Oh, okay. Okay. That sounds like a very normal scale, Nathan. Why'd you make it sound so weird? You're like, here's this novel idea I got. 1 to 10. 5 is literally the mathematical average. But aren't average hookers mean?
Are they?
That's a math joke.
Oh.
So, well, I think, low quality blow, you could die from maybe it's cut with awful Ajax or some shit.
Like Diet Red, Blue.
Yeah, exactly. But low quality, really cheap hookers, you could die from too. You could get diseases, or they could try and murder you.
What kind of diseases? Like STIs?
Just yes. Wait, why are you being so weird right now? Obviously, yes. No, you're gonna get diabetes and scoliosis.
Apparently, there's some sort of cancer in Tasmanian devils, which is transmitted from devil to devil. It's going from individual to individual, and it's contagious.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
Contagious cancer. That's crazy.
That's wildly crazy.
Let's hope we can't get cancer from hookers, because that would be really bad.
Absolutely, it would. So you're saying, would mid-level hookers and mid-level blow be the best bet? I personally would say always go for high-end drugs. That you want. Always start with high-end drugs, and then whatever you have left over, you can spend on whatever other extracurriculars.
Yeah. Oh, you could also go for some blow in E. What's that called? High rolling or something.
Okay, yeah.
But I've heard E makes everything just so much better, like sexually, and so I think that might help to increase the quality of things even more. Because then it doesn't even matter how good they are. It's just a matter of how good the E is.
Well, the E a lot of times has cocaine in it. So ecstasy is Molly cut with something else. Heroin, cocaine, whatever else.
Aspirin.
Sometimes, yeah. But, good E is usually cut with another hard drug. But the point is, it's not just straight Molly. It's Molly with a kick. And a lot of times it is heroin. And I think that if you're going to go with... I would avoid ecstasy myself. I would rather just go with the straight drugs. If you want to buy cocaine and Molly, buy them both, and then you can take them in your own levels. Otherwise, you're trusting somebody else's cut, and maybe you like a little less cocaine, and you can't manage that yourself. I think it's always better to try and manage your own finances, your own drug intakes yourself, than to have to outsource it to somebody else, if possible. It's worth the time to go through and do it yourself.
Yeah, like hand jobs. A hand job essentially is just masturbating if you do it to yourself.
Nate, you're being real fucking weird today. A hand job is masturbating. Yes. I don't. Oh boy. Okay. So where can people find us?
At twitter.com/WNTT1 or facebook.com/We Need to Talk Show. We're also on a podcast network, aren't we?
Absolutely. Podcastnh.com. Check it out. There's tons of different podcasts. Anything you like to listen to, you can listen to there. Definitely, if you haven't yet, we had ABC Pod on. That's anything but credible. They're based out of St. Louis and really, 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 really funny. So go listen to a conspiracy theory, listen to some dad jokes. It's wholesome, but it's also not at the same time. So I love those guys and highly suggest them.
Highly entertaining. And also, we have a Patreon. So right now, we need to make some more money. You can help us with that. Donate. Personal finance. Plan for it.
Plan for giving us money. It's a great idea. And it'll help the show continue to grow and succeed, and us to create some content like this. And until then, we should have a conversation.
Like, we need to talk?
Yeah.
We need to talk.
Hey, Pepin.
Yo.
Do you usually subscribe to entire podcasts, or do you look for specific topics?
Well, I try using the search function on my podcast player on my phone. It doesn't work too well. Try using Google. It's not really set up for it, so I honestly have trouble.
Why don't you just use Listen Notes?
Listen Notes? What's that?
It's a search engine for podcasts that doesn't just search for the terms you're looking for in the title of the episode or the title of the podcast, but from inside the episode itself. Meaning if you're looking for a specific topic, you can find specific podcast episodes that are about that topic.
That sounds a lot easier than spending the hours and hours I have just trying to find the exact right keywords to actually get it to bring up the episode. I mean, usually I just get like a million how to start your own podcast articles. It's really annoying. So that sounds a lot better.
Exactly. When you're looking for something to listen to, just go to listennotes.com, type in a topic you're interested in, and you'll get instant gratification, useful results. That's listennotes.com. Check it out now.